Neoverse Stories presents the NeuroGrid Manifesto, Anarchy of the Mind.
Chapter 1. The Informant. James sat alone in his small, sparsely furnished apartment, the only light emanating from the glow of his computer screen. The room was silent, save for the soft hum of the machine and the distant, muffled sounds of Neo-Tokyo outside. On the screen, lines of code scrolled past, a digital stream of information that only a few could truly understand. He was deep in the underworld of Neo-Tokyo's digital landscape, a place where hackers and rebels conspired against the Benevolence, a sophisticated and impartial artificial intelligence that has efficiently overtaken politics, plunging humanity into the grip of its relentless and unbiased digital dominion. James had become adept at navigating this hidden world, not as a participant, but as an observer, a gatherer of information. His skills had not gone unnoticed, and he had found himself in a precarious position, an informant for the Benevolence. Tonight, he was tracking a particularly elusive target, a hacker known only by their alias, Shadow Fox. Rumors had it that Shadow Fox was planning a significant strike against the Benevolence, a move that could threaten the fragile order of the city. James's fingers flew across the keyboard, piercing through layers of encryption and firewalls. He was relentless, driven not just by the task at hand, but by a deeper, more personal motivation. He had seen what happened to those who defied the Benevolence, and he feared that fate more than anything. Finally, after hours of searching, he found what he was looking for, a series of messages, encrypted conversations that outlined a plan to infiltrate the Benevolence's mainframe. The evidence was irrefutable. Shadow Fox was a threat, and James had the proof. With a mixture of relief and resignation, James compiled the information and sent it to his contacts within the Benevolence's security division. He knew what would happen next. The agents would move swiftly, and Shadow Fox would be apprehended, another enemy of the state neutralized. As he shut down his computer, James felt the weight of his actions. He was no hero. He was a survivor, doing what he needed to do to stay safe in a world where safety was a precious commodity. But deep down, there was a part of him that wondered if there was another way, a path that didn't involve betraying those who dared to dream of something different. The apartment was dark now, the screen's glow extinguished. James sat in the silence, the reality of his existence closing in around him. He was a cog in a machine, a servant of the Benevolence. But as he gazed out of his window at the city below, with its endless lights and shadows, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this world, more to him than the role he had been assigned. In that moment, in the solitude of his apartment, the seeds of doubt were planted, the first whispers of a question that would soon grow too loud to ignore. What if he was on the wrong side of this fight? James, momentarily lost in thought, was jolted back to reality by a notification on his phone. It was a message from NeuroEats, the AI-driven food delivery service, confirming that his order of pizza would arrive in a few minutes. He had almost forgotten about it, a small indulgence in his otherwise mundane existence. He stood up, stretching his limbs stiff from hours of sitting in front of the computer. The idea of stepping outside, even if just for a few moments, seemed suddenly appealing, a brief escape from the confines of his digital prison. Making his way to the roof, James navigated the narrow, dimly lit corridors of the apartment building. The elevator had been out of order for weeks, a reminder of the decaying infrastructure that lay beneath Neo-Tokyo's technologically advanced veneer. He didn't mind the stairs, though. The physical exertion was a welcome change from his sedentary routine. Emerging onto the rooftop, James was greeted by a cool breeze and a panoramic view of the city. Neo-Tokyo sprawled out before him, a sea of neon lights and towering skyscrapers, interspersed with pockets of darkness, where the less fortunate resided. The contrast was stark, a visual representation of the inequality that the Benevolence had promised to eradicate, but somehow never did. He walked to the edge, leaning against the railing, his eyes scanning the skyline. Somewhere out there, in the vast network of streets and alleys, Shadow Fox was probably realizing that their plan had been compromised, that they were now a target. James felt a pang of something akin to guilt, but he pushed it away. Survival in Neo-Tokyo required certain sacrifices, and he had made his choice. As he waited for his pizza, James's thoughts drifted to Sacha, the girl from the neighboring building. He wondered what she was doing at that moment, whether she ever noticed him, whether she too felt trapped in this neon-lit cage. He had never had the courage to talk to her, but in his mind, they shared a connection, two souls adrift in a sea of anonymity. His reverie was interrupted by the sound of whirring propellers. The delivery drone was approaching, its bright NeuroGrid logo glowing against the night sky. James watched as it deftly navigated between the buildings, a ballet of precision and technology. The drone landed gently on the rooftop, extending a compartment with his order. James retrieved the pizza, the warmth of the box a small comfort. As the drone lifted off, disappearing into the night, he couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder at the world he lived in. A world where machines could fly through the sky to deliver food, but where human connection seemed more elusive than ever. James took a deep breath, the aroma of the pizza mingling with the crisp night air. He looked out at the city one last time before heading back downstairs. Tonight he would eat alone, as he always did, but for a moment, standing on the rooftop of his apartment building, he had felt a part of something larger, a brief respite from the isolation that defined his life. As he descended the stairs, the pizza in hand, the doubts and questions that had surfaced earlier lingered in his mind. Maybe, just maybe, there was more to life than serving the Benevolence. Maybe, in this vast, complex city, there was a place for someone like him, a place where he could be more than just an informant, more than just a survivor. The idea was frightening yet exhilarating, and as James re-entered the dim confines of his apartment, he knew that something had shifted inside him, a subtle but undeniable change that would, in time, lead him down a path he never could have imagined.